G'day and welcome to the 36th episode of the Huddy Hui. It's our second week inside the Hui bubble, Adam, and we're keeping ourselves entertained. You've been doing a lot of rugby research work, but yet again, there's been more dramatic news over the cancelling of rugby.
The national top four won't proceed this year. That's the second consecutive year that the national secondary schools tournament has been abandoned. A huge letdown for the 12 teams. 4 co-ed schools, 4 boys schools, and 4 girls schools who were due to participate in that tournament.
Well, and very disappointing indeed, as well as the intermediate Ames Games in Tauranga. That is being cancelled again for the second year in a row. So some year 7 and 8 set, they're going to miss out on that small mini Olympic tournament. But someone who comes from that part of the world is our guest tonight. He is this season was the captain of the Old Glory DC in Major League Rugby. He's played for Sevens for Scotland, and he's a product of Tauranga Boys. Mungo Mason is our guest on the Hui today. Mungo, thank you for coming on the show. Unlike us, where we're currently locked up and don't have any freedoms, you've been enjoying freedom in the state of Utah.
I have. Thank you very much for having me, gentlemen. It's a real pleasure. Yeah, no, it's tough to hear how things are going in NZ and having all this freedom and liberty over here. I've been in Utah doing a bunch of walks and hikes and that sort of thing, which has been lots of fun.
The Old Glory was your team in Major League Rugby this year. How did you go this season? Did you achieve what you wanted to achieve, or was it a letdown?
Yeah, I think, Adam, it was sort of a combination of both. We definitely sort of achieved in the ways that we wanted to. I think last year we had a rip-roaring start. So we lost our first game in 2020, and then the next 4 games we aced. We beat the last year's national champion Seattle, and then we went on and beat Atlanta, and we thought we were on a real big sort of burner. And so I think when we came to the second season, we thought, it's all going to be easy peasy, but it definitely taken a step up or a level up. So I think we maybe sort of underestimated a few games and that sort of thing, but overall it was a bloody good year. We had some some great things. A couple of our players, Kiwi players, Mikey Sassini, who's promoted to the US Eagles team, and Danny Stusitala and Jason Robinson go on and do good things. So it was an awesome year. Enjoyed it, bloody good. It's a good competition, and it'll grow, I think, year on year.
One of your coaches actually ended up having to play. Callum Gibbons, of course, was a product of the Hurricanes. I mean, they won the title in 2016. Tell us about Callum Gibbons in the program there at Old Glory.
Yeah. So he's a bloody good man and good mate of mine now. So Callum came over sort of more in the coaching capacity, and he knew that he might have to put on the jersey every now and again. I think it might have been a little bit tougher because the captain was 7, which is his position. So he came on at sort of 6, which I was a bit scared when they said that Callum Gibbons is coming. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to be bloody out of a spot here. But no, we definitely needed him a couple of times, and he rose to the occasion. He's a hard bugger, eh? And he'll go through thick and thin for you. And he's shows his character and leadership skills. And I think converting to a coaching capacity, I think he'll be awesome. I'll be surprised if we don't see him either back in New Zealand or coaching at a high level in the future.
Who are some of the other standout flankers in the competition?
A couple of the other ones from the sort of the import international side, Joe Johnson, who's sort of a peer of mine, a year or 2 younger, from the sort of the Tauranga Waikato area. He played for the Bay a couple of times, I think. He was bloody good. He played in the Free Jacks, Boston Free Jacks, and he was a bloody good player. Who else was a standout? Sam Wuchen, I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's played for San Diego Legion. He was meant to be going to the NFL and decided to take rugby instead, which is an interesting decision. But he's definitely been a crowd favourite. And then you had Dan Pryor come over from Whangarei and the Tani Whas, and he was pretty good for San Diego as well. So I'd say those are the standouts. A couple other boys playing for the US, but it's a good, strong, very, very strong flankers from all over. I think they breed them well over in the US, and then obviously everyone's to come over. Who else? McLean Jones plays for Austin. He's also a mate of mine. He was probably one of their best players. Played for the Waratahs and been involved in that setup. So some bloody good flankers over there. Yeah.
How did Washington respond to the team? Because typically the city was distracted by Trump protests.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was the thing. We for the first year he was already in and doing his thing, and the second year he was out. So not so many protests and that sort of thing. I just missed the whole, the Capitol insurrection, revolution thing. So I missed that by a few weeks, which would have been quite interesting to be there. I think the whole city went down a lockdown, but I think that's the beauty of rugby, is that you get to travel these places and see these weird, wonderful things going on and get a bit of a taste for it over there. So that was good. And we had fans from all sorts of the political sphere, but it's quite cool being in DC, and you get to see all that sort of stuff every day. Biden will fly over in a helicopter, or you'll get one of the members of staff and representatives drive by. So it's cool. It's very different.
What's the culture like in Washington compared to other states, given there's so much political activity in Washington?
So I think Washington's obviously it's a melting pot of various sort of political ideologies and that sort of thing. From the rugby community, I think no one really mixes politics and rugby on the field, at least, which is quite cool. But from a cultural side of things, you get lots of young people who want to go and work in government and be lawyers and bankers and all that sort of thing, which come to Washington. So it's interesting to interact with them, and when you say, "Oh, I'm here playing rugby," they're like, "Oh, what?"
So previously, you'd signed up with the San Diego Legion, and then made the move to the Old Glory. But the 2020 season was disrupted, and you end up playing in the very famous Sydney club competition last year.
Yeah, Shoot Shield. Oh, it's bloody awesome.
Which club were you with?
I was with the Warringah Rats, so up on the northern beaches there. A couple big names out there, Josh Holmes, and no, it was fantastic. Mike Lowry. It was we had a bloody good one. We just missed out on semis, but no, it's good. It's pretty amazing because the rest of the world was shut down, but we were still playing rugby. And obviously they've gone back a bit in New South Wales, so we had a full season, didn't miss a single game, and it's great to be on the northern beaches there. I think a few more Kiwis are headed over there, kind of ones that aren't quite cracking ITM or Mitre 10 or whatever it is now, and it's a great competition, pretty famous. Some of those derby matches, the Warringah Rats mainly game, awesome. You get 5,000-6,000 people there, huge emphasis on it. So it was awesome. Yeah, fantastic comp.
Returning to the US, how would you compare your experience in San Diego with the experience in Washington?
Oh, that's a good one, Adam. San Diego is very relaxed. It's very, surfy, cool, chill vibes, if that makes sense. So we'd, finish up training and then we'd go straight to the beach and do a recovery at the beach and maybe grab a surfboard and paddle around in the waves, which was quite nice. And then you'd have dinner on the beach. Just like Washington, obviously with the weather, a bit wet and windy and snowy. So we were really lucky this year. We had an indoor training facility, and that was magic. Okay, it was awesome. It was like nothing you've ever seen before that. Bloody indoor golf and basketball and ice hockey and swimming pools, and we were really, really lucky to be in there. So it was different, but yeah, I think probably prefer Washington in the end. Just the people and the being sort of a part of something which you feel is growing and going to be really good for sure.
There was significant changes in the rules this year around scrums and the like. How did you find that?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think we definitely developed from previous years, Washington. So we put a bigger emphasis on recruiting, big time in our tighties, specifically the front row. Last year we had a bit of trouble in Washington, and our scrum went backwards a few times, despite having the beast there, Tendai Matariwa, which we thought would fix everything. But one man can't hold up a scrum. So so this year we we put a whole bunch of work on that front row, and it turned out pretty well. We had a bloke, Gavin Hickey, who'd been with Leinster and Ireland. His brother's quite famous, I think. He was our scrum coach, and he did a bloody good job of getting us going. Yeah.
Just on the beast, what was it like to interact with him? Because he's a two-time World Cup winner, over 100 tests for the Springboks. He's a real legend of the game, and that nickname, a synonymous personality in the sport.
Mate, absolute legend. He was one of the coolest blokes I've met in a long time. He very down to earth, very relaxed, but he just gave our team, a boost that it needed. He only played, I think, 2 games, but his presence there was phenomenal. Next level professionalism. What he ate, what he wore to train in, how he prepared himself for the games. He was phenomenal. You can see why he's an icon. He absolutely is. It was a pity he didn't come back this year, but I think he was supporting from the corner, and he'd give the boys calls and video messages and that sort of thing. So that was really cool to interact with him. to get a bit of an insight into his style of leadership and why he's been so successful. And he's actually from where I'm from, Zimbabwe, which is quite cool. Yeah.
So let's go back to your time at Tauranga Boys. Of course, that school's produced a hell of a lot of sportsmen just recently, Burling and Williamson and yourself. And you're a head boy there in 2013, part of the first 15, and you went on to some further secondary school representative honours. Tell us about that, as well as playing water polo, because I hear that you also were a pretty good water polo player too.
Yeah. No, TBC was a great place, Tauranga Boys. I was gutted about the Ames games. Obviously, it was before I was at TBC, but the Ames games is such a great opportunity for a whole lot of young sort of year 7 and 8s, and to be involved in something so huge. And I played water polo at that comp, and we came second that year. We lost to one of the big private schools, but no, awesome being at TBC. Wouldn't have changed it for anywhere else. We had a lot of fun, and that first 15 was a really tight group. I think we probably did the best we've done for a good sort of 10 or 15 years. And I think the most recent first 15, they're probably there or thereabouts. So we beat Rotorua for the first time in 20 years. It was the first time since I think Tanaro Latimer had been there. Who else? Beat Wesley College, Auckland Grammar, Sacred Heart, Kelston. So all these games that little TBC wasn't meant to win, and we won. It was fantastic. And then water polo is it was when I wasn't playing rugby. I was fortunate to be involved in there and played New Zealand under 20s as a high schooler, which was pretty cool. Did a bit of travel with them. So TBC, I can't speak highly enough of it. And you're right, we've got, I think it's pretty unique. They've got the captain of the All Blacks. Well, not right now, but usually Sam Cane, captain of the this is Kane Williamson, and then also Peter Burling. So the 3 major captains in New Zealand sport all came from there, which is pretty phenomenal.
Tell us about some of the personalities that you were involved with at Tauranga Boys.
TBC. Main man was Jason Spice, Spicy, who's a legend, little bull terrier, and obviously spent a bit of time down with the Lions and Hurricanes, that sort of thing. He was an awesome coach, really approachable, and I think he set me on the professional rugby pathway. I hadn't really thought about it before Spicy come on board, and he sort of said, you've got the stuff, and if you want to pursue it, I'll put you in touch with the right people. And so that was awesome. So I don't think I've actually thanked him properly, but he's probably one of the ones that confirmed for me that does decent to play a bit of pro footy. He got me a contract in with the London Wasps, which I didn't actually take up just out of high school. I decided to go to Waikato instead, but he was the one that kind of put things in motions over there for me.
There's an infamous story about Jason Spice at Tauranga Boys. Is it true that he wrote to St Kentigern's College offering the St Kent's logo to be printed on the Tauranga shorts after they kept taking your players?
I haven't heard that story, but I wouldn't put it past him. Oh, that's funny. No, that's gold. I've good memories of Spicy from a couple international tours over the UK and Wales and stuff. He was very good value. It was awesome.
And also, you're quite the academic genius. You went on to Waikato University, part of the Hillary program. You're now admitted to the bar, the Law Society, and you're about to head off to Oxford University, I believe.
Yeah, sure am, Brad. It's I don't know how I got in. I think I bloody fluked my way in, to be honest. But no, it should be pretty fun. It's a good opportunity, and I feel like I've been playing pro footy for the last couple of years now, and probably deserve a little bit of a break and just planning for future after rugby. So it'll be fun to play whilst I'm there. I think that there's that varsity game, Oxford versus Cambridge, I think, which is pretty special. And the way that they run the rugby program there is quite unique. I think they pretty much train hard out for 8 to 12 weeks, almost like a professional setup, and then they play that one game, and then that's it for the year. So it's all hangs on one game, which is I think pretty unique. And old Dan Carter's going to be over there now, so hopefully we'll get him down to a few trainings. It's going to be cool.
Is he going to be in your class?
I don't know. I'd like him to be. I think he's involved somehow in the leadership, like a leadership seminar type thing, and he's kind of bringing his experiences and his worldwide sort of expertise into this and applying it in like a business sort of framework. So it'd be pretty cool. I'm sure he'll come down to a few trainings, but I also heard a couple other yarns like Ali Williams. I don't know how true this is, gent, so don't take me word for word here, but he's maybe meant to pop up somewhere. But then it's crazy. There's 7 international footy players from the US who are going to be there. There's Blaine Scully, who is ex-captain of the Eagles, Andrew Geritalo, who's an Eagles player. He's been with Ealing Trailfinders. There's Nick Savetta, who's another lock who's played for the Eagles. So it's going to be a bloody good team. It's going to be almost like half of them are ex-pro players, which is pretty cool.
And with your study, are you expanding upon law or undertaking something different?
It's a little bit different. It's a Masters of Sustainability and Economics. So it's more sort of along the lines of sustainable development and net sort of carbon zero solutions, and how the world can transition to a non-carbon intensive environment, climate change, and all that sort of thing.
So yeah, I take it you don't watch Fox News based on that answer.
Sometimes to see what they're talking about. and for a bit of comedy,
What generated your interest in the environment? Because it's an extraordinary thing to go from Tauranga to Oxford University to undertake study in that. That's hardcore.
Yeah, no, you're right, Adam. That's a bloody good question. I don't think I could pin it down to one thing, but when people ask me that, I kind of say it's coming from New Zealand. We're so lucky with our environment and our ability to, go to a clean beach and fish and get some snapper and put it straight on the barbie and go out in the forests and sort of walk around, see waterfalls and see all the native forestry and indigenous forests and stuff. And I just have a great love for the outdoors and want to see it protected. So yeah, that's kind of probably the main motivation. And I've been pretty lucky to travel, a few places in the world, and nothing beats New Zealand in terms of our environmental stuff. And so I want to have a part in looking after it.
And that's a wonderful answer. At least he's not as angry as Greta Thunberg. On the subject of angry, can you tell us about your time in Scotland? Because Scotland have some angry people, and you were in their sevens team for a period of time, and it was a successful tenure for you.
Yeah, they do have a couple of angry little dwarves up there. No, it was cool way. Actually, the one angry dwarf wasn't Scottish. He was English, and he was the ex-coach of Leicester, and had a couple of run-ins with Norm Hewitt. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. He was a coach whilst I was at Edinburgh. So I went to Edinburgh, and that was lots of fun. They sort of said, come over for pre-season, and after pre-season, if you've impressed us, we'll give you a contract. So obviously did a good enough job there, and played with them for sort of the pre-season and then a few of their club games. And that was awesome. Really top class environment. But unfortunately, sort of the way it worked out, the Lucy's that were ahead of me were just, I wasn't really going to get a look in. So they had Hamish Watson, they had Jamie Ritchie, Bill Mata, Magnus Bradbury, world-class players, we've seen how well Hamish has done with the Lions, and Jamie's vice captain of Scotland now. So it was awesome to be around those blokes and good mates with them, but I wasn't going to crack it. I wasn't going to play the long-term rugby that I wanted to. So they said, do you want to go play sevens? So I said, yeah. I play sevens, and I kind of bounced back between sevens and then Edinburgh when they needed me. So it was good. It was a good sort of 15, 18 months. But I kind of thought I'm one of those guys who I want to be playing. I want to be improving week on week. I don't want to be a bench player or a non-23. So when the opportunity to go to the States, it came up again, and I knew there was some couple of Kiwis going over there. Jason Robinson, I don't know if you know him. He's from my neck of the woods, Tauranga, and he said, come over. It'll be a good chance to play some, consistent footy. I went over, and absolutely don't regret the decision. So Scotland was cool. And it was good, but yeah, happy with the States and how it all ended up.
How did the eligibility rules work? Because you're born in Zimbabwe, educated in New Zealand, playing in America, and suddenly you're in the Scottish national sevens team.
So I was actually born in Scotland, and then we moved straight away. So mum and dad are from Zimbabwe, and then they went over there for uni and popped me out, and then we went to I don't know if mum would like me saying that, and then went to New Zealand, Tauranga, after Scotland. So I've got the passport and all that sort of stuff.
And what do your folks do?
Mum is in health, so she's involved in sort of hospitals and the COVID response over in Australia. So she's been pretty flat tack at the moment. So they were over in Tauranga, and then they moved to to Melbourne and had a job opportunity there. And Dad, he's been involved in business and that sort of thing, but at the moment he's involved in retirement villages and sort of running them and operational sides and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit all over. Not so into their sports, but they had a son that was, so they supported me and did everything they could. So it's good. Yeah.
Well, Mungo, it's been fantastic watching you play in the Major League Rugby this season, and all the best for your move over to Oxford later in the year.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Take care.
Right.
Take care.
Chat later. Bye-bye.
Well, Adam, Tauranga Boys, as Mungo mentioned, have produced a hell of a good sportsmen, but they caused a massive upset this year in the Super 8, beating Hamilton Boys, and you recently showed me the footage of the match-winning kick.
It was an extraordinary performance by Tauranga Boys, completely unexpected 13-12 victory over Hamilton Boys. It was their first victory against Hamilton since 2009. In 2009, Sam Kane was the captain of Tauranga Boys. So that shows what a significantly good team that was. But the winning kick for the game transpired right on full time. It was directly in front of the post, 5 metres out, slight left to right kick. And the goal kicker stood there for an absolute eternity, went through the most religious routine I've ever seen for a kick before, slotted it over, and then there was a stampede of triumphant spectators onto the ground, and Tauranga won the game by 13-12. Hamilton did kick on to win the Super 8 itself, though. They defeated Hastings in the final by 12-10, reversing a loss from the previous week.
Well, and of course, still no rugby. The NPC has been put back for another week. It's 2 weeks of no rugby. Wellington final, well, it depends on the alert levels to be announced later this week. But there is a chance that the first 15 final may go ahead still, Adam. College Sport Wellington released some facts earlier this week outlining what will happen if finals rugby can go ahead, not just for the first 15, but for the other grades as well. And there's roughly about a 2-week window there, which is a bit which links in with the return to play protocols.
Well, there's 5 weeks left in the term. Rugby will not extend beyond term 3. That is sacrosanct. So basically how it works is that the teams under the protocols have to be provided 2 weeks opportunity to train, and then they can play. Now, I reckon these teams are so well advanced in their seasons. Why do we need 2 weeks for training? I think we should get into it straight away and play those games. And if we have an opportunity for closure of all seasons, not just the first 15 season, but all the other grades who have worked so hard to accomplish good results, if they're allowed to play, they should play. And if there is this excuse provided, we must have 2 weeks practice before we play, that is a nonsense. It doesn't wash. Get on with it when the levels are dropped.
Well, let's see what happens, and we'll endeavour.
You tell I'm restless, can't you?
Oh, he's had enough. He doesn't like being locked down, Adam. We know that for a fact. But anyway, that is the Huddy Hui for today. We'll try and see if we can bring you some more Huis while we're still in lockdown. But anyway, keep safe and ciao for now.